Hello YouTube and welcome back to Strahz Log Episode 2, August 2014. And unfortunately it's about the middle of August now, and that's due to crazy work hours. Boss Frog and I have been doing about 50 to 60 hours a week for the past 3 weeks, and it's been pretty nuts. So the day jobs are kind of killing us right now. Things are starting to die down a little bit, and of course we have the family life and everything we need to do outside of work. So unfortunately the Strahz Log got pushed back a little bit, but hopefully from here on out they'll be roughly every 30 days, and we'll see how the content goes, because I don't want to do a video every 30 days and just talk about nothing. So, you know, roughly I'd say every month or so we'll have a new Strahz Log out. And I'll just let you guys know about the channel updates and things that are going on. And speaking of, Boss Frog and I started a new series called Brew Quest, and it's in Minecraft. And we're using the Yogg's Complete Pack, which is basically about 240 some odd mods, things like Darkcraft, Thaumcraft, Galacticraft, if I remember correctly too. It's got a ton of shit in it, and we are just having a blast. We've got 3 episodes of that up already. If you guys haven't checked it out, please feel free to do so. We'd really love your feedback on what you think of the episodes so far. That'll be happening once a week, just like the landmarking. And landmarking is going to be sort of towards the end of the week, probably Saturday or Sunday. And the BrewQuest stuff will probably be early in the week, probably like Tuesday or Wednesday if we can keep that schedule going. So yeah, check it out. At the end of the last Strahz Log video, I asked you guys to submit some questions, and a few of you guys did, and I picked one out here out of the crowd. This is from the user B Family, and they are asking, I'm wondering if you can do a how-to video on the offset voxel technique that people are starting to use. It would be great to have a clear tutorial on how to make them, and then go over some of the applications that they can be used for. And thanks for such great landmark how-to videos. Your instructions are easy to understand, and you go over each step from start to finish. Well, thank you, B Family, and that actually is the next how-to video coming up. I haven't recorded it yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this offset voxel thing. When it comes to these how-to videos, I want to make sure, I've done it, and I sort of know the pros and cons of using a certain technique, and that I give you guys that information so that I'm not giving you wrong information. Now, like I said, I'm not always perfect, and sometimes I get things wrong, but that's usually the mindset I have going in and trying to do a how-to, is I want to make sure that I get it nailed down, and then I can convey that to you guys pretty easily and pretty clearly. But as I mentioned, that how-to will be coming fairly soon. I just need to sit down and actually record it. Hopefully I can do that within the next week or 2, depending on how crazy the work schedule is. So look for that coming up hopefully in the next couple weeks. And thanks for submitting that question. Like I said, guys, I sort of want to turn this into a Q&A as well. So if you guys got questions, man, feel free to throw them at me. Speaking of Landmark, I didn't get a chance to go to SOE Live, and I wasn't even able to watch the stream. Unfortunately, we're just way too busy at work, and I was stuck at work, and we have no internet at work on this particular project, so I couldn't even sort of sneak it in down in my corner of my little web browser and, you know, keep my eyes peeled for the boss and supervisor to make sure they weren't seeing what I was doing. But yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch it, but I did check the highlights, most of the notes, and the big thing, obviously, if you guys haven't heard already, is combat will be implemented end of August. I think they said August 27th with that patch, so keep an eye out. Not only just combat, but weapons, armor, and death. And PvP. And that sounds like it's been a bit of a contention with you guys on the forums. But it does sound like the PvP is purely consensual and strictly relegated to claims. So basically someone has to flag their claim as PvP enabled. And once you're on that person's claim, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Maybe they'll warn you saying, hey, you're on Joe Schmo's claim and his is PvP. If you don't move away from the claim, you will be flagged or something like that. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens when they finally implement it. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I like I mentioned, I think, in the last video, I really enjoy Minecraft for that sense of danger. And I'm glad to see some of that coming into Landmark. So Boss Frog and I are actually kind of looking forward to it. And I'm sure with our Landmarking series, we might be at each other's throats a few times, and we might have to just battle to the death. And that's just the way it's going to be. Alright guys, that'll about do it for this episode, but before we go, I did say in the previous Strahz Log that I would do my top 5 comic picks of the month, or about a month and a half now. As I mentioned before, I'm a huge comic book fan. I've been following and reading comics since, God, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade. So yeah, I first got into it probably, yeah, I can't remember the first title, but I was a huge X-Men fan growing up. I was just X-Men crazy. I loved everything they were doing. I loved the characters. I especially loved it when Jim Lee came on board and just sort of took him and went nuts, and then started his own comic book spin-off of the Uncanny X-Men, just called it X-Men. I thought it was great back then. I mean, I wanted to be a comic book artist probably until, I don't know, probably at the middle of high school, end of high school. And I was this close to going to Joe Kubert's school of illustration, but it just didn't work out that way, and here I am doing animation. But anyway, here we go. Number 5 is Outcast. This is by Robert Kirkman and Paul probably going to pronounce this wrong, Azaceta, new artist. I'm not familiar with his work. But Robert Kirkman, obviously, Walking Dead, huge. I mean, he just blew up. I mean, I think Walking Dead #1, first print, I think I saw sold on eBay for like $1,200. Crazy popular. Obviously, the TV show, which is pretty damn good as well. But I'm loving this new title. This is a brand new title. It's basically about this guy who is sort of in touch with the demonic side, or heaven and hell. And so I think it's Kirkman's take on the whole exorcism, like genre and horror. And I've read the first 2 issues, and I'm actually really, really starting to dig it. Kirkman has a really good way of just sort of really defining his characters and making you get attached to them and making you feel like they're believable, outside of obviously Invincible, which he also writes, which is purely superhero type stuff. But when he does real world things like Walking Dead and now Outcast and even Thief of Thieves for a little bit, I just love the way he writes characters. And by issue 2, I'm already invested in the main character. So if you're interested, if you love horror type comics, or if you love Robert Kirkman stuff, definitely recommend checking out Outcast. It's definitely worth it. All right, number 4. Now this is a little bit of a tie. And this is a tie between Revival, another Image book, and Invincible, another book by Robert Kirkman. And Revival is by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. And it's actually got a great premise, great story, great art. The overall story arc is about people who just recently died, suddenly waking back up. And at first you'd think, oh, this is great. It's just another zombie book. There's a ton of them out there, blah, blah, blah. But no, there's a certain twist to this. Like, these people don't come back as zombies. They come back completely coherent, completely alive. And it's just like a great sort of just like psychological play on the mind of like, what if like your wife or your son or your granddad or your grandmother or something like died like within the last 3 days, and all of a sudden they're like alive again? Like, how would you deal with that? I mean, it's crazy. It's drawn really well, like I said, by Mike Norton, and he's been the only artist on it this entire time. And I think up to issue, actually I have no idea. I want to say 18 or 19, something like that. But highly recommend checking out that book. And that's tied with Invincible, which I've loved as sort of a guilty pleasure. It's basically Robert Kirkman's take on like the superhero comics, stuff that Marvel and DC are putting out. And that's by Robert Kirkman, like I said, and Ryan Ottley, whose pencils are sick. If you've ever checked out the hardcovers collections of the Invincible books, if you look in the back, you can see a lot of Ryan Ottley's original pencils, and they're just freaking awesome, dude. So awesome. But again, Robert Kirkman has great character development. He throws some curveballs at you. And I gotta admit, when I first started reading it, I wasn't really like, I was like, okay, great, another superhero book. You know, okay, guys in capes and blah, blah, blah. He's kind of like Superman. He's got a kid and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then I think by issue 5 or 6, it just completely blindsides you with like what happens. I mean, I don't want to ruin the surprise. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend you do. There's probably like 5 or 6 hardcovers now. There's about 3 omnibuses of it. I probably have a hard time finding the first few issues, but definitely worth checking out. It's a lot of fun, drawn really well, and again, written by Robert Kirkman, so definitely check that out. It's number 4 on the list. Number 3, this is a Marvel title, Amazing Spider-Man. I jumped back into Spider-Man. Actually, to be honest, I never really read much Spider-Man growing up. I don't know, I was just a huge X-Men fan. But I recently caught on to Spider-Man during the Spider Island. I really like Humberto Ramos' art, and Dan Slott's a pretty good writer. And Spider-Man is just a really cool character that has mass appeal. And it's just been a fun book. It's just like, not quite a guilty pleasure, but it's just, solid writing, really good drawing, and some pretty crazy story arcs and just like miniseries that are going on. Like the whole thing where Peter Parker sort of died or whatever, the whole Doc Ock taking over his body. I mean, it was pretty nuts. It was a really cool spin on the Spider-Man title, and it was a lot of fun to read. All right, number 2. is Batman DC book by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. I've been enjoying this book since issue number 1. I know Greg Capullo's artwork back from Spawn. If you guys have read Spawn, he was a mainstay on Spawn for a long time, and I enjoyed his artwork. It's pretty good, and it feels like he's definitely stepped up a little bit in the Batman series. It's a little bit different. It's not as dark as I thought Scott Snyder would go, but if you read the Death of the Family story arc, I definitely recommend getting that. Or is it Night and was it the Night of Owls and stuff like that? Check out those 2 miniseries, those 2 story arcs, especially Death in the Family. I thought that was really cool. It's just a solid writing and creative team. I mean, Scott Snyder's also written American Vampire. He did Swamp Thing for a little while for DC, which I'd also recommend reading if you haven't. That was really cool. It's just Scott Snyder's another one of those writers who just is really good at fleshing out characters, and he has sort of a darker side to him, like murder mysteries and a little bit of the horror side. I mean, he just knows. I'd have to say overall his pacing, I think, is really, really well done. Knows when to hook you, and then he, in my opinion, knows when to hit that left or right punch and just sort of like send you for a whirl. So, like I said, Death in the Family and Night of Owls. I think it was called Night of Owls, but yeah, definitely worth a read. Number 2 on my list, and finally, number 1, sort of a guilty pleasure. Took me by surprise. Magneto. Of course, yes, he was a part of the X-Men, a huge villain for them. Huge character. One of my favorites. He finally has his own solo title. And it's just Magneto being Magneto. I mean, he's gone back and forth between being on the X-Men and being sort of a good guy. And of course, always being a bad guy. But this title is sort of him as like a vigilante. And he's not holding back. And actually, is for a Marvel book, it's kind of dark. Like they're not holding back the punches as far as like, death and not necessarily gore. I mean, there's some pretty crazy depictions of how Magneto takes out his enemies, and it's not easy on the eyes, but it sort of like helps with Magneto as a character. And this is the way I've always wanted to see Magneto. It's like I liked him as a villain. I thought he was great as a villain. He's crazy powerful, and now he's just sort of he's cut loose. He's on his own. He's not with the team. He's not with the X-Men. He's just out there whooping on people who have mistreated, abused, killed, or have hunted mutants. And he's just sort of seeking his own private vigilante revenge. And it's awesome. And like I said, that book is by Cullen Boone and Gabriel Hernandez. And so far, Gabriel's been on the book. I think he's drawn all issues so far. So I'm hoping that continues. And like I said, I hope they keep this creative team intact and they don't swap it out very often, or maybe they do a 1-issue fill-in as a guest artist or something. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Magneto. I think it's written really well. It shows you a darker side of Magneto, and it's just great. It's just good reading, and it's just like you get to root for the bad guy sort of, and I love doing that in comics or even in TV shows. So yeah, those are my top 5 picks. A little long-winded. Maybe next time will be a little bit shorter, but I just wanted to impart some information on you guys. For those of you who are comic book fans who might have been out of the loop for a little while. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Strahz Log. A little bit of an update, what's going on with the channel. And yeah, a little bit of the top 5 comics. And once again, guys, please feel free to send me a question. I'd love to have a little Q&A back and forth with you guys and use this as sort of an outlet for that. So until next time, everybody, take care, and hopefully we'll see you in 30-ish. All right, guys, take care.